MMOs are the easiest genre to figure out if something is pay to win or not. Why? Because the most valuable resource in any MMO isn't gold, gear, mounts, reputation, nothing like that. It is time, real life time. And time is the most versatile currency as well, because you can turn it into literally anything else. Gold, mats, gear, reputation, mounts, pets, whatever. So when someone buys a strong piece of gear with real money, it's not just pay to win because they can clear harder content now. It's pay to win because suddenly everything they do in combat is faster too. And it's pay to win also because they do not need to waste any more time grinding that gear slot anymore. That extra time they saved can be now funneled into farming gold, leveling professions, grinding reputation, hunting mounts, anything. Meanwhile, the guy who didn't buy anything is slower at everything and still stuck chasing that same gear piece. That's why I think people who say the line between pay to win and not pay to win in MMOs is blurry are just wrong. Like the argument of, well, you can also get it by just playing normally doesn't mean much. The real question is, how far ahead will that person still be by the time I finally catch up to where they were when they made that purchase? Because while I'm grinding, they're also still playing, right? And stacking even more progress, assuming they did not quit or die. Take something super straightforward like a level boost. Sure, I can get to max level as well by playing legit, but while I'm spending weeks leveling, the boosted player is already farming, raiding and building up wealth. I honestly believe that the truth about pay to win in MMOs is stupidly simple. Anything that makes progression faster in any way is pay to win. Period. Sure, there are degrees of it. A 10% XP boost isn't as bad as buying a full level character boost, but both of them push the game in the same direction. Now let's bring all of this back to Turtle WoW. If you've seen their in-game shop, using that logic, it's clear as day that yes, Turtle WoW has pay to win mechanics. There is basically no question about it. They are not the most egregious I've ever seen, but they're also not tiny, harmless either. The problem with Turtle WoW is that their pay to win compounds over time. The more you play, the more value you squeeze out of the shop perks, which means that the gap keeps getting bigger. There aren't straight up level boosts and you can't just buy pieces of raid gear. What you do have though is a ton of stuff that people who don't understand that time equals progress like to call pay for convenience instead of pay to win. Naming the cash shop a donation reward tab is also a clever marketing move. It's the same thing as every other cash shop, but by slapping donation on it, they make it feel selfless, like you're doing the developers a favor. They knew what they were doing with that name, okay? But a quick disclaimer, I'm not saying cash shops are bad. I get it. Games need money to survive, and private servers even more so. Cosmetics are honestly the best route for them. They still suck in MMOs because they water down what looking cool actually means, but if you're being realistic, I don't see another way private servers could stay alive without some kind of shop. Selling a subscription would not work for them. But here's the thing, Turtle WoW sells more than just cosmetics. Once you peek into the gameplay tab of their cash shop, it's all basically pay to win. Here is what you can actually buy. A repair bot that fixes your gear anywhere, anytime. A summonable vendor for regents and ammo. A summonable mailbox. A summonable auctioneer. A summonable bank. A summonable talent reset bot. A summonable forge and anvil. A summonable mooncloth crafting spot. A 30-minute cooldown reduction of your hearthstone. And lastly, 36 slot bags. I really refuse to believe that anyone can look at this list and seriously say, nah man, that's not pay to win. Like, come on. But fine, I'll explain it anyway. So let's imagine you buy all of these perks right at level 1, which honestly would be the best play because, like I said, these advantages compound over time. A level boost is one and done. You skip the grind once and that's it. But these advantages, they scale with every single hour you put into the game. So depending on how much you play, they can actually be even more powerful than a boost. And I'm sure for many people it has become that. Alright, so You start at level 1 with 4 36 slot bags, and let's be real, even one of those would already be ridiculous, plus all of the other toys. The bag space alone changes the leveling experience by quite a lot. Suddenly you never have to worry about running out of bag space. That sounds small, but it quietly deletes a whole part of what made Vanilla's leveling so memorable. Like those moments when you finally drop a 6 slot bag. That's gone. Now you hoard everything until you find a vendor to sell your stuff to, without ever needing to do any kind of item deleting and inventory management. At level 6, maybe that means an extra 2 silver just from vendoring trash you didn't have to delete. At level 10, maybe that's 20 silver. By level 20, it could be a couple of gold. By level 30, I don't know, 10 gold. It snowballs. Plus, you never have to spend any money on bags yourself, which was a real cost back in the day. So even at the most basic level, you're ahead financially. Anyway, back to the start of our journey. You leave your starting area and keep leveling. Pretty quickly, you also realize that you never actually need to waste time going back to vendors to empty your bags. That travel time is not a problem to you anymore. You can just keep grinding, keep questing, until your whole quest hub is filled with quests that are ready to turn in. Then your gear starts breaking, inevitably. But wait, you've got a repair bot. No need to run back to an armor smith. Your bags fill up with 10 stacks of linen cloth, some random greens, useless 6 slot bags and other junk that you could sell on the auction house. But wait, you've got a summonable auctioneer. Why waste time traveling back to a capital city? While you're at it, you can also grab some food and regions from your personal vendor and even stuff from the auction house, since you also have the portable mailbox. And it doesn't stop there, of course. If you're a hunter, you've always got an ammo vendor with you. If you're a blacksmith or an engineer, the anvil and the forge are right there as well. Basically, the only time you ever really have to go back to town is maybe once every 2 levels to train spells. And honestly, sometimes the spells aren't even worth it, so you need to go on average maybe once every 3 levels. And if you really pay attention, you also realize that on Turtle WoW you always have rested XP, thanks to the tents from the survival profession. You can basically put down these tents, and if you sit under them for like 5 minutes, you get full rested XP. That means just grinding mobs is already more than double the speed of normal vanilla leveling. Sometimes close to triple if you min-max correctly and take advantage of all the additions that make leveling faster. So because of that, not needing to go back due to bag space, broken items, ammo, anything, can be an even bigger advantage, because just staying in the open world and grinding mobs as much as possible is by far the fastest way to level solo. Over time, all of this stacks up. It's a compounding advantage. Every single time a free-to-play loser has to run back to town and you don't, every time you vendor a couple of extra grey items instead of deleting them, that gap gets a little bit bigger. From level 1 to 60, the difference isn't world-ending, but it's definitely not negligible either. If I had to throw out a ballpark guess, you're probably looking at 60 to 70 extra gold just from not needing to buy bags and always being able to vendor extra trash, plus maybe 10 to 15 hours of leveling time saved. But the real snowball effect doesn't start until you hit level 60. As you know, in vanilla World of Warcraft, gold is basically everything. You need it for raiding, you need it for PvP, you need it to respec, you need it for professions, you need it for basically everything. One of the best parts of vanilla is that gold itself is another form of progression. So let's say you've hit level 60 with all those shop perks and now it's time to farm. You pick a spot that isn't even the absolute best, but it's solid and chill, like, I don't know, the Jadefire Demon runs in Felwood for Felcloth. You farm mobs, you vendor the trash, you gather up the herbs with herbalism for some extra gold. You do this for 6 hours each day across Friday, Saturday and Sunday, so 18 hours in total. Thanks to your perks, you never ever need to leave the area. You've got a repair bot, a mailbox, your bank, the auction house, all on demand. That's 100% uptime. Meanwhile, your poor friend who didn't buy anything has to run back every few hours to repair, clear bags and list stuff on the auction house. Let's say he has to do it every 3 hours. So in 18 hours, that's 6 trips. Let's be generous and say each trip only takes 20 minutes. That's 2 hours gone in one weekend. Over a month of farming, that's 8 hours lost. And remember, those are generous numbers. Very generous numbers. You can easily round it up to 10 hours per month and it would totally make sense and would still be generous. So 10 hours per month may not sound that crazy, but stretch it and over a year, that's 120 hours. That's 5 full days of slash play time, easily more than one full 1 to 60 leveling journey. Maybe even 2 of those if you're really efficient when leveling. And people have been using these shop perks for at least 3 years now. And again, that's conservative. It could easily be way higher depending on how much you play. And this doesn't even factor in the other conveniences like the fact that you can also swap your talents for dungeons and PvP, your extra efficiency across alts, the gap just keeps stacking over and over. People who say this isn't pay to win are basically the same crowd that insists the WoW token in retail isn't pay to win either. Both groups just lack the mental bandwidth for even a tiny bit of abstraction. Yes, technically, the first step, buying these things with real money, doesn't directly make your character stronger, but the WoW token literally lets you buy gear and boosts for PvP and PvE content in retail. And on Turtle WoW, these perks let you do everything you need to do faster. It's the same formula, just with one extra step. That, combined with the fact that free players can eventually get the same stuff, is apparently enough to short-circuit people's ability to think straight. But before I wrap this up, let me address a few comments that I know are coming. First one is, it's not pay to win, bro. You can still clear all the content as a free player. Yeah, we already went over this, but let me put it this way. By that logic, buying a full tier 1 set the second you hit 60 wouldn't be pay to win either. After all, you can still clear the raid without it, and you can farm and get these pieces yourself over time as well. Of course, no sane person would look at that and say, oh yeah, that's totally fair. It's the same idea, just to a different degree for fuck's sake. Second one. If you don't like it, just don't use it. Other players using it doesn't impact you. That's another stupid idea coming from someone who cannot think. Even in the best case scenario, that is obviously false. You will get gold slower, you will attune to some raids slower, you will get some loot slower, and so on. If you compete with your guildmates for raid spots, you will be left behind if you don't put in extra work. Beyond that, let's say you are in a full free-to-play guild and none of your friends buy this stuff either. It still sucks to know that other people have it easier than me just because they paid real life money. It's like in retail when it feels stupid to spend hours and hours grinding 300k gold when you could just press a button and get it through a token. It takes away from the prestige of your accomplishments, and that is absolutely awful for an MMO. Again, the token analogy is much worse, I know. I just use it because it makes everything clearer. Third one, if these options would not be available, the server would not make enough money. I highly doubt it. People on Turtle WoW love this server because there is a lot to love about it. A ton of them would support the creators through some cosmetics anyway. I really doubt this would be a real issue. The profit would for sure go down, but profit at the expense of the MMO experience is what got us to retail World of Warcraft in the first place. Do we really want to go down the same route again? And lastly, people saying I don't care about this is still better than the Blizzard realms. Okay, I do care. Do you fuck off now? Do we kiss or what? I never understood these people. You see that other people care. You do not care. Why do you even engage them? The real answer is that you do care. You probably feel attacked, and that is why you say that. You make the MMO you play a tribalistic thing and act like it actually represents you. So you take it very personal when someone critiques your MMO, and that is why you act this way. Alright guys, that's the video on the pay to win problem in Turtle WoW. Originally I wanted to do one giant video covering everything about this server, the good, the bad, but that script was turning into an absolute monster. So I figured breaking it down like this makes it easier for you to digest and way easier for me to finish. Plus, videos over 20 minutes on my channel tend to not do that well, so I kept that in mind as well. I'm gonna keep this series going, and first I will cover the negatives, and after that we'll move on to the positives, because don't worry, there are plenty of positives about Turtle WoW as well. But the reason I want to start with the negatives is simple. As I've said before, most vanilla World of Warcraft YouTubers are unoriginal as hell. They repeat the same takes over and over, and when it comes to Turtle WoW, nobody seems to touch the downsides. Before I started playing, all I heard was how Turtle WoW was the best thing ever. Basically, the second coming of Jesus, the best thing since sliced bread. And yeah, I bought into that hype. But the reality is that the situation is way more mixed. And I think it's important to talk about that side first, because it gets ignored. That said, once I do get to the positives, I will highlight stuff nobody else talks about as well. Not the same recycled talking points, but actual fine details that show the developers behind Turtle WoW really play their game and get what makes it good. So stay tuned for that. Anyway, a huge thanks to you if you stuck with me all the way through. If you liked the video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. It helps me a lot. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.